Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. It's Tuesday, my friends. We're 2 days away from Thursday Night Football, Giants versus Washington. Of course, if you watched the Raiders and Baltimore Ravens take on each other last night, you saw Eli and Peyton and their awesome commentary. What just an incredible experience. It felt like I was in the room with Eli and Peyton and they were like watching with me and just like talking along the way. I loved that. The commentation normally from those professional guys, it feels very scripted. It feels very like, they know what they're going to say already. It's pretty smooth. And, I do like it, but I did like kind of the unnatural aspects that Peyton and Eli brought to the kind of commentation, whether it was just kind of talking about, football stuff, bringing on Russell Wilson and Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce dropped a couple curses, which was hilarious. I was cracking up. I honestly, I really enjoyed it. I hope they make it a regular thing. Eli, I don't think I've seen that guy speak that much in the a couple hours that he was broadcasting than I did the entire 16 years of his entire career. I thought he was talking a good amount. Of course, Peyton really took the lead there. I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to be ironed out. It's just in terms of talking over one another and like kind of timing it out in chemistry. But overall, I thought it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it, and I hope they continue to do it. But today, we're going to talk about the Giants, how they can overwhelm this Washington offense with Taylor Heineke starting because Ryan Fitzpatrick was placed on IR with a hip injury. And we're going to talk about how the offense can take advantage of a Washington defense that had a pretty tough time against the Chargers in Week 1, Anthony. Before we dive into all this good stuff, how you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing real good. What an awesome Monday Night Football game that we got. I loved listening to Peyton and Eli call that game. Not actually calling it because they weren't doing the play-by-play, but I really loved that because I found myself when the Giants were playing the Broncos on Sunday, I almost muted my TV. I put it down to like volume 3 because I couldn't stand those play-by-play announcers. I thought they were horrible. They were just not adding anything of value to me, and they were really annoying me because I felt like one of them was quite biased because he used to play for the Broncos, and I feel like you could hear that in his voice as well. And so basically, when I was watching Peyton and Eli last night, it felt like I was sitting on my couch. I had Peyton to the left of me. I had Eli to the right of me, and they were just breaking it down as we go. And we were all just talking football, but they knew a lot more than I did. And I thought that was such an awesome experience. I believe that the NFL is doing that for 10 of the 17 weeks or something. So we're going to see it again, I think, next week as well. I'm really excited. I'm tuning into them every single week. I had the original Monday Night Football broadcast on for a little bit. I was like, screw this. I'm going right back to Peyton and Eli. They were awesome. They killed it. Shout out Eli Manning, greatest quarterback in New York Giants history. But today I am doing really good. I'm amped up. That was an awesome football game that I watched last night. I'm feeling a little bit better after that Sunday loss that the Giants gave us. Unfortunately, I am still frustrated and angry, and we're going to discuss that a little bit. But now it's kind of time to move on. We have to just look ahead to Week 2. The Giants have a short week. They're playing on Thursday night. Divisional game, crucial matchup. This is one that I think people are going to say, if the Giants don't win this game, the season might already be over before it really got started. So this is a crucial matchup for the Giants against a divisional opponent on the road, Week 2, Thursday night game, short week. It's an important one. Joe Judge had some comments in the media. I'm very excited for this game. But again, it's a very important game. Can't stress that enough. So I'm looking forward to breaking that down, doing a live stream Thursday night, 2 days away from our next game. Very excited. Let's go Giants, and let's stomp out the Washington no-names.
Exactly. And you know what? Reflecting and, kind of looking at this past week, I will say credit to Denver, man. They had a stout defense. Their defense was phenomenal, and they really controlled the clock with their offense. So Teddy Bridgewater, they converted a couple fourth downs, a couple third downs. If they don't convert those fourth downs, there's 3 of them. We're talking about a whole different game right now. The Giants didn't get blown out if they stop those fourth down attempts. And I think the one that they got that touchdown from the tight end where Teddy Bridgewater stiff arms Xavier McKinney in the face, that changes the momentum of the game. The Giants are still in it at that point. There's a lot of different plays that the Giants usually make that I think they will iron out. And before we jump into like kind of what the game plan will look like this upcoming week against Washington, I do want to have one little debate here about Evan Engram and really not having him on the field, which ended up being a massive negative. I know a lot of people make the jokes. He drops balls, interceptions, blah, blah, blah. And while I do agree with you, at times he is a liability. We missed him against Denver. Like, we really missed him. And they were very, apparent when he was ruled out of the game. Their coaching staff literally said straight up to the media, our coverage just got a lot easier because Evan Engram is out of the game. So they were not wrong about that. Evan Engram really stretches the field. He pushes safeties back. He opens the underneath. He takes guys out of the box, which helps the running game, and it helps guys like Sterling Shepard and Kenny Galladay. Kyle Rudolph just didn't get it done, and he looked slow. He looked like he didn't have that much, synchronizing and really chemistry with Daniel Jones, which is unfortunate. But the reality is the Giants just didn't have enough time to get those guys on the right page, not enough time to get the timing down. Rudolph just didn't look like his normal self. I think the Giants really sorely missed Evan Engram as much as we thought that maybe him being out would actually help them. They missed his athleticism, his ability to create bad matchups in coverage, and they miss his ability to stretch the defense and really create a lot of other pockets. They need him against Washington. Washington's defense is no joke, but Anthony, when you're looking at Evan Engram, do you think that this was obviously ended up being a net negative, having him out? Of course, maybe he drops the ball, maybe it's intercept. End of the day, Giants lost 27-13. In my opinion, it was really 27-7 because that garbage time touchdown means nothing to me. I will say it couldn't have been worse than that, right? Evan Engram obviously would have been more of a positive than a negative.
Yeah, leading into the game, you were kind of mentioning how you felt maybe Evan Engram being out for this game. If there was a game for him to miss, it was probably this one, just because of the style of defense that the Broncos play and the style of offense that the Giants play. Maybe it would have been better to emphasize the underneath routes. But of course, the Giants went ahead and did that and emphasized the underneath routes all game. And now here we are saying, why aren't they taking shots downfield? That's how we felt all last year. It was a repeat in week one. Horrible, horrible feeling to just watch the Giants kind of wash their offense down even more. Just take all this new personnel that they got, these great players, these awesome vertical threats like Kenny Galladay. Darius Slayton's a good vertical threat too, and just never go vertical. And Evan Engram was missed from this game plan. One of the things that Evan Engram does is helps the intermediate passing game. How does he do that? Okay, so when we're talking about going vertical downfield, a lot of the times we're not even talking about taking downfield shots. We're talking about vertical route concepts that open things up for the underneath route concept. So let's say that you have Evan Engram in line against the right tackle and he goes up the seam. Well, then you have just another tight end. Maybe it's 12 personnel. So maybe you have him against the right tackle, and then you have a tight end right to the right of him. So maybe Kyle Rudolph there. Well, Evan Engram goes down the seam against a cover two. So he pulls that linebacker back a little bit. And then Kyle Rudolph just comes and does a little stick route 7 yards from the line of scrimmage. Well, the linebacker had to respect Evan Engram's speed and not let him get into the hole between the two safeties in the cover two defense. So he started to drop back a little further. And that allowed Kyle Rudolph to just kind of slip underneath that 7 yards from the line of scrimmage and get an easy catch completion for a first down. So that's something that we were missing. Plays like that, where Evan Engram is able to stretch the field, be that cover two beater. He could even be fast enough to just get to that hole in the cover two and make a deep reception. So having him not on the field, or rather having him on the field, actually opens things up a lot for guys underneath in the underneath receiving game. But of course, it also gives us more downfield opportunities because I know Evan Engram drops a lot of passes, but he also is a great route runner for a tight end, a very fast tight end. I remember there were plays against Philadelphia last year. I remember watching that game and saying, wow, he is toasting cornerbacks off the line of scrimmage. His release package is really good for a tight end. He's just dropping the pass after the fact. So that's still one thing. And then another thing is if he's toasting these guys off the line of scrimmage and making these corners play catch up, that causes a safety to cheat over. And then that causes a safety to be out of position, which might open up another route concept somewhere else in the field. So yes, Evan Engram being off the field, I know everybody likes to joke about his drops and this and that. The guy is a matchup nightmare for defenses. And sometimes, even though he's not the most reliable target, him being on the field does open things up for other receivers in the passing game. And I think that's a very important thing for Evan Engram. He's not always doing things himself. He's doing things for other people. And I think that's an important difference for people to start to realize is that when he's not on the field, our offense feels that impact and defenses notice that he's not there. They can see his absence and they can take advantage of that and play a different style of coverage, maybe just play with everything in front of them because they don't have anybody pushing them vertical, challenging them downfield because maybe Kenny Galladay is just a little hobbled still from that hamstring. He's not pushing the defense downfield and stretching the D and open things up underneath for the Giants offense and receivers. So Evan Engram, I felt his absence. I think the Giants obviously felt his absence. The passing game never really got going the way we wanted it to. We weren't going vertical enough, but hopefully he's healthy again soon. He did not participate in practice today. He's probably not going to play on Thursday. I'm hoping that he's ready for week 3. Of course, we have the short week between week 1 and week 2, but that means you get a long week between weeks 2 and week 3. So hopefully during that long week, he can rest up, heal up, and be ready to go against the Atlanta Falcons on September 26th, a game that I will be at. Eli Manning's jersey retirement ceremony. I can't wait for that. Alex and I will be there, and we can't wait to see you all in the parking lot for the tailgates.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? When we're talking about Evan Engram, it's interesting because Jason Garrett's offense is really derived from the 2004 Norv Turner offense. And some of the things that makes the Norv Turner offense work is a field stretching tight end. And that really helps when you have Evan Engram, who really is capable of stretching the field. They like to use 12 personnel, like you mentioned. Having a big reception tight end, the kind of guy that just collects those passes in the middle, like Kyle Rudolph, is a really great complement to having a guy like Evan Engram, who can stretch the field and create those underneath routes, create space and pockets in zone coverage. The other thing that I really am starting to question here is that offense that Jason Garrett runs also really heavily relies on a physical running game, right? A physical running game runs a lot of inside zone and power. The problem is that is not Saquon Barkley's strength, right? Saquon Barkley is a terrible inside zone runner. He picks the wrong holes. He doesn't have that physical grind out yardage type of running style. He's more of a glorified scat back that is also very strong in the open field when there's tacklers around him. He can't take on two or three guys and carry that for 2 or 3 extra yards. That's not his style of running. He's the kind of guy that bounces it outside, probably a lot better in an outside zone or sweep style run. But the thing is, Jason Garrett really loves that physical rushing inside zone attack, and I think that's where they're running into problems, and they might run into problems. The Norv Turner offense also loves to have a shifty scat back, kind of like a Darren Sproles guy, having a 1-2 punch like Ezekiel Elliott and like a Tony Pollard is kind of what the Giants would have loved to have if you're Jason Garrett. But they have Saquon Barkley, and I think he just never really has adapted his scheme to the modern NFL, and also adapted his scheme to his players' strengths. And Joe Judge says you have to play to your players' strengths. I don't think this scheme really focuses in on that. And mind you, other thing that Norv Turner's offense really loves to have is a big physical wide receiver. That's why they went out and got Kenny Galladay, which also tells me they are not changing the scheme, right? This scheme is dead in the water. It is steady. It is stuck, right? And that's kind of the problem, in my opinion, is that they're not really adapting to modernize the scheme to their players' strengths. Like a guy like Saquon Barkley, using him like Alvin Kamara, getting him on those draws, getting him out on those outside zone runs, getting him out to the edge and the boundary where we can use that vision, that elusivity to really make plays in the open field. At the same time, you see them running a lot of inside zone, a lot of power. They finally got a physical possession receiver like Kenny Galladay, but it's a little too late for that, right? Like they signed him to a 4-year contract. What happens if Jason Garrett gets fired? You're bringing another guy who really likes shiftier, smaller wide receivers, kind of, I don't know, like a Calvin Ridley or a Devontae Adams. Or a Tyreek Hill, you know what I mean? Like different than Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay is like kind of a one-trick pony in the way he plays. He's a physical possession receiver. He's not going to burn you with his wheels. He's not going to burn you with his route running. He's a huge guy with a great catch radius. I think a lot of coordinators would love to have him on their team, but he fits the Jason Garrett mold to perfection. And I think Evan Engram, also that field stretching tight end, also fits that mold. So I think he finally is getting some of that personnel. Devontae Booker is more of his style of running back, a physical downhill runner. I think honestly, I would like to see them use Devontae Booker more on those inside power runs, and I'd like to see them use Saquon Barkley in more of a scat back outside zone style, and really start to use those strengths that he has. They're running him right up the middle, and that's just not his strength. It's not his style, and that's kind of what's concerning to me. I don't think we're ever going to see the best version of Saquon Barkley unless you get a coordinator who's willing to adapt the scheme to his style and really get him more involved in the passing game. I thought Saquon Barkley, and I said this before the podcast, before the game, and essentially the best way I saw them using him was in the passing game, getting him in those angle routes, getting him up the seam, attacking those linebackers, and they didn't do that a single time. The only time they tried to use him in the passing game was on a running back screen where Daniel Jones stared him down so hard that the defensive backs were like, all right, like we know it's a screen, and they just stood there and got him early. They did a really terrible job getting him open in the passing game. And I said, just go and copycat the Saints playbook at this point, because you just saw Jameis Winston come out there and absolutely torch the Green Bay Packers defense. It wasn't even close. And that was Jameis Winston, okay? Daniel Jones should be better than Jameis Winston. He is not even close. Not even freaking close. I would rather have Jameis Winston 100% of the time over Daniel Jones right now, because he can read coverages. He knows how to operate an offense. He's working hard, and he doesn't have those insane fumble issues that Daniel Jones cannot get rid of. And this is just my opinion. You might have a differing opinion, Anthony, but just, talking about this offensive scheme, it's really a disaster at this point, and I really think they're stuck in the mud here and they can't get out of it.
Yeah, I have plenty of grievances with the scheme. I did a video in the 2019 to 2020 offseason discussing how Saquon Barkley has yet to reach his full potential. Why is that? And one of the main things that I concluded was the scheme was not benefiting him back then. Pat Shermer was not doing much to benefit Saquon Barkley, despite the fact that Saquon Barkley was generating a ton of yardage and making plays on his own as a true playmaker. A lot of the runs were right up the middle, and that's not really his playing style, as you mentioned, Alex. And if you look at some of the best offenses around the league, let's talk about best rushing attack from 2020, the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry. Now, you think of Derrick Henry and you think of him as a north to south runner, but actually, in actuality, if you go look at the Tennessee Titans, they ran a lot of outside zone. They ran the Shanahan wide zone offense, which is kind of a buzzword at this point, but that's what people like to refer to that offensive style as, because it really originated from Kyle Shanahan back in Atlanta and now, of course, in San Francisco. When you think back all the way to 2 postseasons ago, right? When the 49ers ran for over 200 yards against the Packers and just dominated them and went, to the conference, or all the way to the Super Bowl after that, right? That was all basically outside running plays. That was outside zone, outside zone, outside zone. They could not stop the outside zone. The Green Bay Packers couldn't. So when you look at the best rushing attacks in the NFL, they are utilizing, for the most part, an outside zone rushing attack. And when you look at even players like Melvin Gordon in this past week against the New York Giants, if you look at his attempts, 6 of his 11 attempts were around the left and right ends. And then another 2 were around the left and right tackles. So that means that 8 of his 11 rushing attempts went to the outside. And we all know what Melvin Gordon did to us. He ripped off a 70-yard run around the left end, which was an outside zone running play. And if you look at Saquon Barkley's statistics for this week and which directions he ran in, he ran 2 to the right end, 2 around the right tackle. So that's 4, and then 1 around the left tackle. Never went around the left end. And that's actually surprising because our left tackle was playing better than anybody, and they only ran to his side once with Saquon Barkley. So he only had 5 of his 10 rushing attempts go outside, which is about half. But I really think that number should be closer to about 70%. And I definitely think that he should have more rushing attempts to the left side, considering how well Andrew Thomas was playing on Sunday. But when you really just take a look at Saquon Barkley's playing style, his ability to get one-on-one with players and then make them miss, you create one-on-one tackling opportunities when you go outside and you go to the open portions of the field, not when you put him straight into the middle of the box, especially when the Giants are stacking the box, the Broncos are stacking the box with 8 men and the Giants are just trying to run it down their throat anyways. That's stupid. That's poor scheming. That's poor play calling. That's whatever bad words you want to call that. That's what it is. And really going forward, if Saquon Barkley isn't fully healthy, then the Giants really shouldn't be playing him that much because I don't want him to hurt himself again, A, and then B, I don't want him to be a detriment to the offense because he's not able to go outside or run any outside running plays and beat any one-on-one tackling opportunities. So I don't know. It's becoming a complex discussion at this point with Saquon. He really did unimpress many people in week 1. People thought that he didn't look like his old self. I thought that he did the most with what he could. I didn't think the run blocking was anything to write home about. But yeah, going forward, I do think this scheme obviously needs to prioritize more vertical concepts, passing concepts, not even vertical shots. Of course, we want more shots, but just more vertical concepts so we can open things up in the underneath. But then in the running game, I think you need to see a lot more Daniel Jones rushing, read options, zone reads where Daniel Jones is going around the right end, or you need to see more Saquon Barkley going on the outside zone, getting some one-on-one blocking and one-on-one missing tackle opportunities, because that's really how the best NFL offenses in the league are finding success in the rushing game.
And here's the thing. Teams in the NFL and specifically the Giants are not going to be successful. And I want to talk about the Giants here specifically because it's so imperative to know this. If the Giants do not have a strong running game, they will not have a strong passing game. Okay. Very important to realize that because if you don't have a strong passing game, or rather, sorry, if you don't have a strong running game, nobody is going to respect your running game. So they're going to just drop everyone back and just double team your best receivers. They're just going to force you to just check down, and you're essentially going to have no chance. The Giants ran the ball a solid amount, right? I think Saquon Barkley had 10 carries, right? Overall, they had 20 carries. Daniel Jones led the team with 27 yards, right? So they had 14 total carries of the running backs. And of course, they were playing catch up for most of the game. So, fair to throw that in there. But Saquon Barkley, I think it was Next Gen Stat, was the least effective running back in the entire NFL in week 1. We expected him to have a slow start, but I just don't understand. Like, if you see he's not doing what you need him to do, why continue to force it? You know what I mean? You're still trying to win a game. It's still the regular season. I know we have an extra game this year, so week one's like a little bit less relevant than before, but you still want to win week one and go into the season with a positive note. They just kept forcing it till Saquon, and like it just didn't make much sense to me personally. If the Giants can't build a strong running game, it's going to be a long season because nobody's going to respect it. They're just going to double team with their safeties and corners. They're just going to take away our best receiving options, and it's going to be over. You have to be able to complement both. If you have a strong running game, like you have to be able to complement that with a strong passing game. And if let's say the running game's not doing well, then you have to be able to have a strong passing attack, which then opens up the running game. You have to have a balancing act, and I think the Giants just don't have any balance because nobody respects either portion of their team, right? It's not like they have a strong running game and have a weak passing game. Right now, they have a weak passing game and a weak running game. So it's like, what do you really do there? And then plus when you have right tackle Nate Solder literally getting bulldozed onto his ass, it's not a good thing. I just posted a video on Twitter. Go check that out. It's or not, because you will be very mad if you do. It's really not good. The Giants didn't do very well in the running game this past weekend. The run blocking was subpar. Pass blocking was a lot better. He had the second most time in the pocket he's ever had this past week against Denver, which is tremendous. They have to replicate that against Washington. And I will say this. Let's just move over to another segment right now, how the Giants can attack this Washington defense. They allowed over 400 yards, okay? 400 yards against the Chargers. I know the Chargers have a much better offense than we do, but it's not impossible to take advantage of this Washington defense. They didn't run the ball significantly well, but they did a tremendous job getting the ball to the receivers, using the running backs as receivers, and using their offense in attacking their weaknesses. The Giants are probably going to have a hard time running the ball this week, but they need to use Saquon Barkley as a receiver like the Chargers do with Austin Eckler. They need to really just use their running backs as receivers and get them more involved in that aspect of the game, because you can't just take your running back out of the game if the running game isn't working, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's the problem with Jason Garrett's scheme. Is the second the running game isn't working, then our running backs completely are irrelevant now. We're just going to have them pass block. We're not going to do anything creative with them. We're not going to shoot them up the seams. We're not going to do quick outs with them. We're not going to do anything with our running backs, and we're not going to target them as receivers. That is where Jason Garrett starts to really piss me off. Aside from the 100 other things that pisses me off, is that the second the running game isn't working, the defenses just don't even care about the running backs anymore. They're like, whatever, let Saquon do whatever he wants, because they're not going to throw to him. They're not going to do anything creative with him, and it just pisses me off to see how little they get creative when portions of their offense aren't working. They do nothing to supplement it, which is like annoying as hell. But I hope, Anthony, this week, how do you think the Giants attack this Washington defense? It is a very strong defense. We know that. They have a great front four. They have a solid secondary, but they are not prone to being, attacked through the air. They did give up 400 yards. I mentioned, I think Justin Herbert had over 330 passing yards. Daniel Jones can take advantage of this secondary. How do you think they best do that?
Yeah, so what I noticed when watching just through the game, of course, we don't have the all 22 film. Thanks so much, NFL and NFL Game Pass, for that. Obviously being sarcastic, but when I was watching through this game, or at least, trying to see what I can gauge from what the Chargers were doing on offense without seeing the all 22 angles, basically, I saw a lot of cover two beaters. I saw a lot of throws to the sideline. I saw a lot of moments where Justin Herbert was taking a shot between the deep safety and the cornerback playing the flat zone, trying to hit that little pocket right there, and he was connecting on it. Of course, hitting on plays like that requires a tremendous amount of arm strength, which Justin Herbert does have. But basically, what I'm seeing here is that classic Ron Rivera cover two, Tampa 2 defense with the 4-3 front, that's what's still being run. What he used to run in Carolina, that's what he's running here week one in Washington. And I think that's something that the Giants are going to have to take note of. They're going to have to try and attack the sidelines, create some open opportunities on the sidelines. I think that's where Kenny Golladay gets involved. I think that's where you have to say Sterling Shepard needs to get a little scrappy in the middle of the field if they're going to go that way. You're probably going to get some contested catches that way. And of course, you want to attack the middle two safeties, right? Right, that hole in the little middle of the defense. So what I saw, though, was a lot of cover two and a lot of plays where the Chargers found success through the air, throwing to the sideline. So that's what I think the Giants are going to have to try to expose. Clearly, something is Justin Herbert had 337 yards passing in this game. One touchdown, one interception, correct. But he was finding success when throwing to the sidelines. Those throws do require more arm strength than the ones that are short over the middle of the field. So Daniel Jones is going to have to really put his all into some of these because he doesn't have the arm that Justin Herbert has, and not many quarterbacks do. So it's going to have to be careful in that regard. But yes, in order to attack this this defense rather, for the Washington football team, I think that the Giants are going to want to utilize a lot of outbreaking route concepts and try to attack the sidelines, especially against those cover two defenses.
Yep, agreed. And before we dive into how the Giants defense can take advantage of Washington, just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. Want to get advantage over your sportsbook? You need to download BetQL, the only app you'll need to make a smart bet. Their best bet computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and gives you the reasoning behind why you should place the bet. The model covers everything from spreads, over and unders, and player prop bets. This is a great platform, guys. I can't recommend it enough. Giving us a lot of great information to make proper bets. If you are actively betting and risking money, you want to give yourself the best opportunity to actually walk away with a profit. And I promise you, this is a great opportunity for you to take advantage of a discount. Go head over to try.betql.co/fireside. You can also get 25% off any subscription offerings using the Fireside discount. All the information is in the description in the YouTube video. Really simple there. Also, go make sure to exercise the BetMGM offer in the description. You'll receive a whole free year of BetQL. A tremendous opportunity. Again, I use it. If you're new here, I use this platform all the time. It's not like I'm just selling you guys something I don't use myself. And I've been about 80% success rate so far, which is way better than the 54% that professionals are actually hitting on today. It's a great platform. They give you 5-star rankings for every game. I use it for baseball a lot because it's a lot easier to predict baseball games than football games. Looking at that Ravens and Raiders game yesterday, you can really never predict what's going to happen. You never know. So I really like to use it for baseball specifically because I kind of have an idea of who's going to win that game based on matchups and pitching and whatnot. But of course, if you want to use it for football, it gives you a lot of great information there to make decisions for yourself. But let's talk about this last segment really quickly. The Washington offense and how we can take advantage of that. I think the Giants and Patrick Graham are trying to get way more involved in using cover one than using a lot of zone coverage. Last year, we saw a lot of zone coverage to cover up some of those deficiencies at CB2 and linebacker 2 and slot corner. We saw a lot of things that Patrick Graham was trying to do to make sure they covered up some of those weaknesses. But now he knows he has good man coverage corners. They're starting to adapt to this new scheme. And I think that playing a lot of cover one is what we're going to see. If you watch the Raiders and Ravens game, you saw the Ravens played a ton of cover zero. They were sending the house almost every play. That is what I think the Giants should do against Washington. Make Taylor Heinicke beat you. Make him beat you. You know what I mean? Put pressure in his face, deliver some big hits, knock him on the ground, get him shook, get him scared, and then take advantage of that. You will get sacks. You will get turnovers. Trust your cornerbacks. If you're not going to play cover zero, play cover one just to have someone back there like Xavier McKinney to protect over the top. Taylor Heinicke is not Derek Carr. He's not going to beat you on those throws that he just tosses up in the air 40 yards downfield. He's not going to beat you like that. Force him to make those plays, put a ton of pressure on him, send Jabril Peppers, send Logan Ryan, send Darnay Holmes, send Xavier McKinney on blitzes, use those outside linebackers, use Blake Martinez, play a lot of, I think Tampa 2 might be a good way to confuse him if you're going to play more zone coverage. But I think man coverage here, cover one, sending a ton of pressure at Taylor Heinicke, make him beat you. He's a freaking backup, for God's sakes. Make him beat you. And I think that is how the Giants will get success in this game, Anthony. What are you thinking about this approach toward beating Washington on Thursday?
Yeah, I think you definitely want to put pressure on a backup quarterback. I think that's always your top priority, is try to confuse a backup quarterback. Put some pressure on him. Try and make sure that he's not really going out there and seeing the field too easily. Let's put some pressure in his face and confuse him. And of course, Patrick Graham obviously knows how to confuse quarterbacks. We saw last year against the Washington football team, Logan Ryan got an interception, a game-winning interception against Alex Smith and the Washington football team when they used a disguised coverage. It looked like cover 3. It was really cover 2. Alex Smith read it pre-snap, threw the ball, didn't realize that they changed their coverage post-snap, and threw in an interception. So when you're talking about plays like that against a veteran like Alex Smith, you're talking about taking plays like that and applying that to when you're going up against a backup, just like Taylor Heinicke. That's really what you want to do. Confuse him the best that you can and just go from there. And I think that's what the Giants' game plan is going to be. Let's apply a lot of pressure. Let's run some disguised coverages. We've got good, talented high IQ players like James Bradbury, like Blake Martinez. We can do that. We can disguise our coverages. We can get away with doing some things that other teams can't get away with because we have talent on defense. So let's do it. Let's try to confuse this quarterback. Let's definitely get some pressure towards him. I know that was a struggle for the Giants in week one. We weren't generating a lot of pressure, but hopefully we can change that in week two, apply some pressure, disguise our coverages. And I think that's really the game plan anytime you're going up against a backup quarterback. Taylor Heineke, he's not really the guy who's going to go out down there and throw a bunch of shots. I know he did have that deep connection to Terry McLaurin against the cover two defense.
Completely
but man,
luck.
that was not a good throw. That was the wrong throw to make against that coverage. When you have that safety
Intercepted 9 out of 10
playing that
times.
deep half, yeah, exactly. When you have that safety playing that deep half, he basically threw it right into that deep half. Terry McLaurin just made an amazing catch, amazing reception, kind of just got in the way of where the safety was trying to go. Safety obviously didn't want to commit a penalty there. But yeah, that is kind of the play that you don't want your quarterback to make. You really want to take calculated risks when you take those shots. That was just a risk where he got lucky. And so basically, the Giants can probably trick Taylor Heineke into making some throws like that when he doesn't want to. So it's going to be a good one. I think it's probably going to be closer than it should be because the Giants are going up against a backup quarterback. But the rest of Washington's team is very solid. We always said that they were just a quarterback away, and now they're one quarterback down. So I don't know. It's still a good team in all around him. It's still got Terry McLaurin. Antonio Gibson was actually running the football really well from what I watched against the Chargers. Gibson had a really good game. He was a very patient runner, could really hit the outside zone well. I saw him take one up the left sideline against Los Angeles. So another player to keep an eye on. But for the most part, when you're talking about Taylor Heineke and you're talking about the Washington football team, blitz and disguise your coverages. That's how you beat backup quarterbacks.
Yep. I mean, if the Giants let Tyler Heineke run all over them, it's going to be a madhouse. People are going to be really freaking out for a good reason. But I think they're going to pick it up. I think they're going to have a good game. They usually do well against Washington. They're angry. They're pissed off after losing and getting blown out at home against Denver. I think this is a good opportunity to bounce back. Defense, show what they're made of, and put a lot of pressure on Taylor Heineke. There's no way he's going to pull a Teddy Bridgewater and escape some of these sacks. The Giants were that close a handful of times of bringing Teddy Bridgewater down. Those fourth down conversions, they're not going to do the same thing with Taylor Heineke. They're not going for it on 4th and 7 at the 50-yard line with Heineke. Teddy Bridgewater is a different story. So I think it's going to be a little bit more conservative game plan for Washington. They're going to use Antonio Gibson, milk the clock, and try to control possession. The Giants need to do the same, get a lot of possession, work the ball downfield, attack, with their better players. I want to see Kadarius Toney way more involved. They did not use him properly. They did not use him enough. The only thing they used him on was a freaking screen pass, which I liked, by the way, and then the end around, which was a disaster. I want to see him actually running routes in front of the line of scrimmage and not behind the line of scrimmage. Let's actually use him as a receiver this time, not a gadget player, which is ridiculous. The Giants are only using him in that way. So hopefully we'll see more from him. This Washington offense is going to have problems. They're going to try to run it through Antonio Gibson. If you stop him, you will get to Heineke, and you can really create some turnovers and some good opportunities for the offense, guys. But once again, thank you to our sponsor, BetQL, the only app you will need to beat your sportsbook. Find their information along with a 25% off discount code in the description of the video, and also check out the special BetGM offer in the description in order to receive a free year of BetQL and other sportsbook sign-up offers and bonuses. Make sure to subscribe below on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. We got you guys covered all week. Tomorrow we're going to have an episode out, kind of breaking down injury report, what's going on there. For the most part, the Giants are relatively healthy. They escaped without any significant injuries in week one. Evan Engram is making his way back. So we're really excited. Hopefully he can make a return against Washington and really help us blow this defense up. But guys, make sure to have an awesome Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday, and we'll catch you guys on the next New York Giants video.